Hello, and welcome to this week's episode. Now, last week on the podcast, I unpacked the 3 levers that every business needs for sustainable, smart business growth: commercial leadership, streamlined methodologies, and rhythms for momentum. So if you haven't listened to that yet, make sure you go back and check out that one. But for today's episode, and the reason that I bring this up is that we are actually going to be bringing this framework to life. I am so excited to be chatting with Nick and Jeni Clift. Now, they are the co-founders of DWM Solutions, which are managed IT services that they built over 25 years, and they successfully exited in 2022. And so when I talk about bringing these 3 levers, this framework for smart business growth to life, that is exactly what Nick and Jeni did over that time in their first business. I worked with Nick and Jeni for 4 years, and Nick had spent the better part of 15 years as the business's key salesperson. Jeni was right there beside him as the co-founder, keeping the wheels turning. And together, they actually made a decision that changed everything: to build an autonomous sales team, to create that culture of accountability and nurture commercial leadership within the business. What followed was absolutely a masterclass in all 3 levers. They built a sales culture with true accountability. They created methodologies that the team could easily follow, and they established a consistent rhythm. They did quarterly immersion events, weekly coaching that didn't depend on Nick being personally involved in every single deal to get it across the line. And they knew that they were getting it right when the team hit their Q4 targets while Nick and Jeni were away on a 5-week overseas holiday. They then raised the bar and increased the targets by another 100K. And guess what? The team hit it again. Nick is an MSP coach and mentor. Jeni is a certified EOS implementer. I'm absolutely grateful to be able to call them clients, collaborators, friends, and I hope that you enjoy this episode as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Nick and Jeni, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the Smart Business Growth Podcast. I want to dive straight in because you both work really closely with business owners and SMBs right now, and I'm really curious about what are you noticing at the moment? You know, the world feels pretty noisy right now, economically, politically, all of it. We're in information overload. How is that landing for the people that you're working with? And what do you think smart business growth even looks like in this current environment? Is there anything you're noticing in terms of conversations you're having, patterns that you're seeing? I'm going to leave it open to whoever wants to jump into this question first. If you're immediately like, oh, me, I've got the answer to this one. Who's it going to be?
Well, okay. What I think you're right, Nicky. There's a lot of noise out there, and what I'm seeing is people are, especially around that hype with AI and all that kind of stuff. We just had another podcast this morning. We're talking about AI, and it's not artificial intelligence. It's exceptionally good pattern matching. Yeah. That's all the tools do. So if you feed enough data and you're going to get a good pattern. So people are kind of panicking and thinking, oh my God, yeah, I need to do this. My competitors are doing this. My customers are doing this. I need to get in front of it. I need to know more about it. I need to implement it myself. All those things are true. You do need to be using it, but it's not the end of the world. It's not going to be replacing humans. It's going to be freeing up the boring, mundane research work and reading 1,000 tickets and trying to figure out, or 1,000 documents and trying to figure out the matching patterns. So I think there's a lot of kind of activity around that, and people are trying to find their niche, their purpose to help their clients in this information overload, as you said. And that's where the AI tools can absolutely help with information overload. You can feed all the information in and get a succinct summary back out based on what your needs are, and you train the models over time, and there you go. So that's what I'm seeing. As far as business growth goes, there are opportunities to help other businesses use these tools in their businesses. In our industry, managed services, we're looking after IT for clients, and they have the opportunity to help their clients use AI to give them a competitive advantage and help their. So it's kind of an interesting thing. overall, economically, I'd say it's pretty positive. It's not buoyant, but I'm not hearing negative connotations like, oh, no one's got any money to spend, or we're worried about the political situation in the Middle East. Now, I don't think Australia gives a shit about that, to be honest. We've effectively
except when they go to
disassociated
the petrol
ourselves.
bowser.
Yeah.
I think we, as a country, Australia, even though we don't live there anymore full time, it still is pretty independent, and I think it's pretty buoyant at the moment. So there's opportunities out there. You just got to go to where the noise is and filter it out.
Yes. So what I'm also hearing in that is, particularly with the AI or economically, political, all these different, things that we're dealing with, is just pause for a moment. Don't get caught up in the narrative of speed, got to be so quick, or fear, or pause and look at actually how can these tools, when we're talking about AI, how can we be smart about it? When we talk about smart business growth, it's actually not being reactive. It's not following unnecessary trends, as an example, but pausing and looking at, A, how can this tool help support me? B, how is this political, global environment, whatever it is, truly affecting me? And then with a kind of a rational, calm mind, look at how do I set myself up to move through the curveball or find the opportunity in that?
There's smart
Yeah.
people would be selling solar panels and batteries right now.
Yeah.
So when the next oil crisis happens,
Yeah.
you can charge your
Yeah.
electric car,
Yeah. Yeah. All of a sudden, Tesla became popular again. Geez,
Funny
that's
that.
been a journey of brand.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast episode. Jeni, what would you have to add to that in terms of, real-time conversations that you're having with clients about their fears, concerns, what they're positive, optimistic about?
A lot of our clients are in the IT managed services space. That's our background. Not all of them. And completely agree with Nick. There doesn't seem to be too much sort of fear or even caution to that extent. What I did hear one of our guests on our podcast a couple of weeks ago referred to or recommended that you think of AI and the tools as the enthusiastic intern.
Yeah.
And it's because you do have to teach it. You can't just throw AI in and let it go. There's been some pretty good stories about people trying that and how that ended up. So I
Yeah.
think the opportunity now to really take a lot of that mundane, legwork, as Nick said, the research, that sort of thing out, and do things that we've just never really. We've been using some of the AI tools, and I'm an absolute whiz when it comes to technology, aren't I, Nick?
Oh, you're an enthusiastic intern.
Yeah.
So I think it's given
I
us
knew
the
that was coming.
opportunity to do more than we have been able to before, and a lot quicker. And I think that's where the opportunity for a lot of businesses lie, is how can we do what we're doing, do it better, do it faster, and add more value to our clients.
Yeah, I love that. The term that I used is not enthusiastic, although I like that, but it's the hungover intern. So you've got to double check, triple check. They are enthusiastic, but maybe their attention to detail isn't really on point. And, I think what this is a reminder of is that these tools are here to support and create efficiencies. I often talk about with the sales, how the sales role has changed, is that we're no longer information givers about product or services. It's no longer about features and benefits. It's actually about where our role is to help facilitate decisions, help our prospects and clients feel good about the decision that they're making to work with you or to not work with you. It's being that safe pair of hands. It's being able to help them cut through the noise with this information overload. And reality is we live in a very complex world in many different ways. And I shared in the intro a little bit about the transformation that you had with your previous business, DWM, which I had the absolute pleasure and honor of working with you and the team for, I think it was 4 years, which was amazing. And, really thinking about that transformation and those results, really focusing on creating that autonomous, high-performing sales team so that you both could step back. Nick, you were the key salesperson for, I think, better part of 15 years. And really being able to step back, go on holidays and the team smash their target, and, that autonomous high performing culture maintains, as well as really investing in your leadership, whether it's your leadership, but bringing up leaders within the business so they can then help support and run the team, and embedding a lot of the rhythms. So I would love to dig in, because I know that a lot of the listeners and people that are watching this on YouTube are probably in a similar position. Some of them are definitely in a similar position to where you were, in terms of being the business owner, hands-on, knee-deep in the deals, the sales, or even as a sales leader, getting too involved in converting the deals and, the sales process. So, Nick, I'd really love to ask you, what was that moment? Like, what was the real clincher that made you realize actually the business growth or the business success will kind of almost plateau if you stayed the main salesperson? Or was that the reason? Was it a conversation, a holiday? Like, what was it for you that made you go, something needs to change?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And reflecting on that, I think it was after 15 years of being the owner-led sales, which we all start, right? And I was driving to maybe Horsham or somewhere like that, like 3 or 4 hour drive. And I'm thinking, why am I still doing this after 15 years, right? I love the meeting with the client. I love that discussion and all that kind of stuff, but I don't love the driving out there all the time and doing the same. And I think it was one of those 1,000 trips I did out in the country over the years that I thought there's got to be a better way here. I can't go everywhere. I can't do everything. Yes, some opportunities came up 5 hours in the other direction. I can't be in 2 places at once. I tried chartering planes. That was
Yeah.
not cost effective.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the decision process for me, is like, I can't, I didn't wake up one morning and said, I hate my job. It was definitely not that. I love the clients. I love what we did. I love the process. I just couldn't be everywhere at once. And that was definitely a limiting factor. And if you're doing that burn where you are doing everything, like you're making the appointments, you're going, even though they're existing clients. I never did any cold calling at all. I never did any marketing. I didn't, before I met Nicky here, we didn't do any strategy on sales as such. I just looked after my clients. I was a classic farmer. Opportunities came. I got a phone call from someone. Oh, a friend of mine's got a problem. Can you help them out? I was good at that. I'd go in there. I'd be good at the consultative approach, really showed empathy, understood what their problem was, knew how to solve the problem within the first 5 minutes. Then it was figuring out, how do I take them on the journey to convince their boss or the board or whoever needs to spend this money to solve this problem. But figuring out what the problem was, figuring out how to solve it, was not an issue for me. That came very naturally, still does. But I couldn't be everywhere at once. So that was the kind of challenge that I said, okay, I can't do this. And then we moved from the country to Melbourne. And then that's where it really became an issue, because getting back out to see those rural clients was just not going to happen for me. So that's where we
Yeah.
started looking at someone like, and we found yourself to help us kind of build that team up. Yeah.
Because also you've got all the other hats that you're wearing as a business owner as well. What do you think are the things that almost stopped you? Like, what would have stopped you from letting go of the reins? Because it's a journey. It's easy to say, I can't be at all places. I can't do all the things just because, I can do this. This is a skill and I enjoy it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing for me to keep doing it. And so many business owners, and you went on your own journey around this as well, without unintentionally becomes a bottleneck, because theoretically we know that this is a good move for whatever reason, but the reality of actually stepping back and handing over and having someone else do what you've done for decades or for a really long time, what was the thing, or what were the things that potentially would have stopped you from actually going through with taking a step back and building that autonomous team?
Well, they weren't the hypothetical, they were real.
Yeah.
It
Did
was
I say hypothetical? I didn't mean to.
yeah, no, they were real. They were
Yeah,
real
yeah.
blockers.
What do we say, Nick? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No, no.
Exactly. That's it. That's it.
And I think a big part of it in the early days was absolute. And all successful salespeople have ego, right? And it's like saying, well, someone else is going to be doing it as good as me. And even though we know it's the right thing to do and we know that we should do it, can't help yourself, but part of you loves the hunt and the chase and the win, right? That's just built into natural salespeople. That's why we do it. We love helping people. We don't want to burn people on the way through, but that thrill of actually seeing the smile on a person's face when they've agreed to do it, you've implemented it, and it actually solved the problem, and they're so happy. Like there's not a lot of places you can get that feeling. Like winning a car race is the same type of feeling, right? So it's a winning feeling. It's not like you know, it's just that dopamine or whatever it is, that thing you get when you win. So giving that up is bloody tough, especially if you're a kind of driven person that needs to have that kind of thing in your life that shows you're winning. So you've got to replace that with something else, right? So you can't just go cold turkey. I tried it, and what it became was sabotage, right? I would say, oh, yeah, you can do the sales. And then I would, around the corner, a customer would ring me, and I'd keep this one to myself because that's a big one, I'll come in on my shiny horse and save the day at the end of the quarter or the end of the month because, one of the things we discovered on this journey, and I've since learned from a lot of other people, is because you're a good salesperson doesn't make you a good sales leader. And in fact, the sales manager should not have a financial target at all. Their job should be to build a team that is successful, not. And I was the sales manager with a sales target and having salespeople work with me. And it's just really tough to let a deal go to someone else where you think, look, they've got a 75% chance of closing this deal. I've got a 95% chance of closing this deal. I'm not going to take that 20% risk. And subconsciously you keep it to yourself. And when we all, in hindsight, know it's not the right thing to do, because you got to teach your people to fish. You got to lead. And they were blockers that happened to me for probably 2 years during that journey. And eventually we finally cracked it and cracked the code, not crack the shits.
Cracked it.
You did that a couple of times as well, I think.
So for the people listening out there, if you are the breadwinner sales leader and you just, for whatever reason, you need to change that, there's a couple of things you've got to do. You've got to be comfortable that there's somebody else in the business that can do that to keep the business going. And you've got to know what you're going to do. What's going to give you your buzz to keep going in a different role, potentially. Because if you don't have that, what's next for you, I don't think you'll let go of it ever. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have to replace those behaviors, don't we, with something else. And there's so much in what you talked about, even around the conscious and subconscious, things that are driving the behavior. And it's hard to let go of something when it's your business and is your example that there's 20% more chance that I will close this deal, but it's such a short-term view, because again, then you can't have that holiday for a month like you guys did and have your and that was just the beginning. That was kind of the this is really working, and we've cracked the code and we've got to build on this. So even remembering why you're doing it is so important. And I'm really curious, Jeni, from your point of view, because obviously you both co-founded the business, you're there making sure the wheels keep turning in the business in all these other ways. You've built this amazing business together. As Nick started to really, truly step back and realized, actually, these are the things I need to work on to truly let go and empower the team, what did you notice first? And I'm curious, from a team point of view, or was it in the business, or even Nick himself? Like, what shifted that you saw and that you felt?
I know Nick had a few conversations with others around them being through that journey as well. We're members of entrepreneurs organizations, so I know he spoke to some other members about, transitioning from that, I am the sales machine for the business to I'm part of a team, or stepping out of it altogether. So I think there was that talking to people who've been there and done that and how they did that. It was a bit of as he said about, changing that focus from him to others. How can because one thing Nick loves to do is help. And I think this is something that we sort of as coaches probably helped Nick through that. You don't have to be the one who always wins to meet that need. You can help others to win, and it actually feels better, I think. So kind of coaching and helping people through that process of, there's more than one way to do this. Once we started to, as a leadership team, once we started to see some of those real wins, and I think one of the best feelings for me was I went into Nick one day and I said, "Who's this client?" And he said, "I don't know." The team had brought in this whole new client and we didn't even know anything about it. So once you start to kind of, loosen the reins and people do start to have some wins, it just gives you that confidence and refocusing, taking it off me and starting to really spend that time and energy on the team and helping them win.
So it's almost like you create this beast of its own and it starts to take over, and it's the evolution. And to Nick's point as well, for both of you, even that sense of, oh my gosh, this is happening without me. Yay. And that can bring up some other feelings of, oh, we're not needed anymore. What? This is my baby. How am I, or whatever it might be, all of those things. So
yeah. I remember coming back from holidays and I think we'd been away for 5 weeks and we came back and sort of walked into the office like, we're here, and everybody went, "Oh, you're back. How was your holiday?"
Yeah, cool.
And then just continued on working. And part of us was like, "Oh my God, this they don't need us," and the other part was, "Oh, they don't need us." There was just that real mix of some elation and some absolute rejection, and having to come to terms with that. So there's so many moments that happen through this process, and it is a real journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say full credit to you both, because you were on the journey, you were on the process, you were aware of these internal or subconscious things, or you had people around you to help highlight it. Sometimes we're not aware of these things. So, the structure that you really kind of landed on and the people that you had around you, I think were incredible. And really, if we kind of break it down, I think there's the sales leadership component that you really invested in getting right from yourselves, but also getting people into the right roles within the business. There was the sales capabilities, the sales skills, and then there was the rhythm. Like we did our quarterly sales fests, we did weekly, fortnightly coaching, quarterly reviews. Like the rhythm was so consistent and you really committed to that. When you think about sales leadership, that accountability culture, the coaching culture and performance management, when you think about investing in the sales development of the team and the rhythm, what do you think is, and Nick, I'll just jump to you again now. What do you think out of those three components? Like, is there an easy starting point? Is there, do you think that one is more important than the other when it comes to creating this transformation? Because what I think is really cool about your experience is that there's a clear transformation from and to, and you ended up selling the business and being really successful in creating that ideal state that you wanted. So if we think about leadership, sales capability, rhythms, what are your thoughts in terms of what's the most fundamental key or what's the starting point?
The only reason I'm laughing is because now I can hear Jenny's dog snoring in the background.
Oh, I love that. I thought it was a car or something.
Yes.
That's cute.
No, and welcome to the podcast. This is, which one have we got here? We have Rocket. Rocket is snoring around in my feet. It's not me.
You know what? Live your best life. Yeah.
I think overall, the secret to it was having a culture of openness and trust, because we work really hard on that. And when it came time to transition roles and people around and try different things, everybody knew I can try this. If it doesn't work, I can go back. And we also had coaching in place, and we had like training programs, we had a whole lot of stuff. So it was really safe place for people to try and have a go. That I think was the number one thing. The second part of it is most owner-led sales, like we were, if someone asked me, how do you, what's your process? I go, oh, I don't know. I just go there and it just happens. So documenting your client journey would be the second most important thing. So it's still nothing about actual selling. This is all about the people and then the process and how you want the experience for your clients to be. That will be the second thing. And then the third thing about that is obviously having a program of defining what the roles are, who's going to be doing what, getting that accountability straight. Because when the accountability is all with one person, nothing's documented. It's all random, and I just do what I need to do. I'm on a phone call negotiating a price with a vendor. I'm talking to the client, scheduling the project. All those things need to be offloaded to other team members. So for that to happen effectively, we need to know what we want to have happen, and they need to have the skills to do it. And even simple things like introducing your sales admin people to the right contacts at the vendors. Like, you can't just hand it off and say, "Oh, you deal with Dell." Like, they're kind of the three major things, I think. And then that actual process of transitioning. We like to say we do it with you. We teach you. We do it with you. Then we watch you do it. Okay? There's three different journeys. So you can't just. In the early days, I probably would have written a document out that only made sense to me, threw it over the fence and say, "Yeah, good luck with that."
Yes.
And that's just setting people up for failure. You've got to have a culture that supports people.
Yeah. Yes, it's really interlinked, isn't it? And what this reminds me of is this kind of metaphor that I see a lot, which is the cowboy culture. I think we've talked about this. When you're first setting up your business, you're setting up, it's kind of like those old Westerns that we watch, and the cowboys come to town and they can do anything because there's no rules, and you are going to do anything to get the job done. Like, it doesn't matter. You'll negotiate your rates, you'll change up the process, like, great. But when you get to a certain level in business, we actually need a bit more structure, and we need a bit more streamlined methodologies, because all of a sudden what happens is that results are reliant on a few high performers, and that might be the owner-led salesperson as well. So the sheriff has to come to town and put some rules in place, but not take out the personality. It's just the bones, it's the structure, because otherwise you've got too many people going off in too many different directions and not understanding or knowing, what the other person is thinking, or what you as the senior leader or the business owner are thinking. So I think it's a really important point around documenting. It's great, but that's not job done. It's actually, how do we create some kind of a playbook and engage people in that process so they're actually using it, excited about it, and can align with it as well. Jeni, is there anything else that you would add to that?
There was a couple of really simple things that we did that were, I think, just absolute game changers, and like super, super simple things. And back in the olden days when we had an office and most people came to the office,
Yes.
we had, if you remember the office in Moonee Ponds, we started with the giant post-it notes and discovered that one of our sales admin guy was very, very talented, very creative with drawing. And so we said to him, "Can you do like the old-fashioned thermometer of our target, which we'll go with 100,000 sales a month?" So he just did that. And then as the month went on, they went through and colored it in. And for the first time in about 3 years, they actually hit target. And
Yes.
I think and then like it was September in Melbourne, so he did the grand final, was a football ground, and then he went to a vendor event and won a trip to Paris. So it was the Eiffel Tower. So each month he did something. There was koalas and kangaroos and you name it.
Yeah.
He could draw these things. We had 3 years where they didn't miss a single month's target because we kept all of those up on the walls. And they didn't want this month to be the one that they didn't hit target.
Yes.
So such a simple thing. And I actually contacted him a while back and said, have you got some photos of those? And he sent them through to me. So such a simple thing, but just putting those visuals, making it more about the team than individuals. And this is something you worked with us on, and really making sure the sales team was a team. And the other thing was our sales manager, and it was actually our son, Oscar. And he was he's a cheerleader. He's not a natural, hustle sales guy. He's more that sort of nurturer. But him in that role of sales manager, where he was cheerleading everybody and helping the team to hit those targets, was outstanding. So I think those two things really helped.
I love that, because the visual, I mean, you know what? We can't underestimate a good old school hand-drawn thermometer or whatever it might be on the wall. Like that takes me back to my OG days in sales. And there's something about that visual. Now, we might not be in offices in the same, some of us might be, some of us aren't.
Sure,
But
there's
there's
an
other
AI tool to do it.
ways. There are other ways. Like I think a really good strategy is to look at what are the things that have worked over our last 20 years in business and in sales. What are the things that have actually helped create those results? And then how do we modernize it for 2026? Like we're crazy if we just reinvent things all the time. The classics are the classics for a reason. And I love as well what you talked about with Oscar, because to Nick's point, just because you're a great salesperson doesn't mean that you're going to be a great sales leader. And, we've got to find how we're supporting and developing our sales leaders, which in my opinion, is the linchpin. Like it is the thing that holds everything together. If you've got strong leadership, they're creating a great culture. They're great at coaching their team and holding to performance standards. Like that's when you truly can accelerate your results. And that's what you're talking about here as well. If your best salesperson left tomorrow, would your sales results survive? Most leaders don't actually know how to answer that. The free Sales Resilience Check tells you exactly where your sales function is solid and where it's quietly exposed. In under 10 minutes, you'll get a personalised score, your key blind spots, and a 90-day focus to act on straight away. Check out the link or QR code. If you could go back and tell yourselves one thing before you started this whole transformation, and I know like we're going back in time a little bit now, aren't we? But if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would that be? Nick, I'll start with you.
Get over yourself. You're not that important. Like you are important to the customers and to the staff, but you're not irreplaceable. Like no one is irreplaceable. And I think we do a lot of stuff out of obligation and from a good place. And especially if you're the founder of a company, you're owner-led sales, and you feel the pressure that every dollar of revenue falls on your shoulders, you need to figure out a way to let that feeling go, because that is what's holding you back. And one of my business mentors at the time said, Nick, don't stress about losing 10% of your customers. He said, it's not going to happen. And he was 100% right. In 25 years of running our MSP, we never lost 10% of our customers. We did lose 50% one year. That was one customer.
Yes.
But that's another story. Don't have a whale customer.
Yeah. We nailed it. We smashed
we nailed it. We lost 50% of our revenue.
Exactly.
I'm a high achiever, right? I'm a high performer.
Exactly. If you're going to do it, do it well.
Well, it was only one customer, so on a percentage of number of customers, it was less than 10%. But
which highlights a whole other.
On a revenue basis, it was 50%. But I mean, that was the key thing. I took so much pressure on myself, and what did I say? Accountability? No, what was that word I used? Forgot it now. Obligation. That everything had to be me, because I had to make sure this stuff happened. I wish I had learnt that it's okay. The world's not going to end if you have a bad day. And for those people out there that feel that pressure, just get sick for 3 days and see what happens. When you actually physically can't get out of bed and you can't talk because you've got laryngitis or something, the world didn't end. There's a story about one of our sons that was ill when he was a baby, and we were literally at the Royal Children's Hospital for a week, and I had no phones on me, nothing. And we had, when I finally got back into Signal, there was 20 messages and 5 from one client. That were, and when, I don't even know if I spoke to them or somebody else did, but they explained the situation. Oh, don't worry about it. It's not important. Yeah. Nothing's that important, but we make ourselves feel like this need to respond and get stuff done and do it all ourselves. That I wish I had learned that a long time ago.
That's so true. And if your client responded in a different way, then that again is maybe a bigger conversation around, are you working with the right types of clients? Are you, because, we get to, as business owners, also create and design our business. And, we do, when we get to a certain point in business, get to choose who we work with. And also to that point, when we build the teams and focus on handing over and doing all the things that you've talked about, then you can have that week off without any concern. You can have that sick time, or even better, you can proactively take a time off to enjoy life. And it doesn't have to then be this concern and big stressful thing in our lives.
Yeah,
So I love that. Yeah.
like when you feel overwhelmed, what you need to do is go to the gym or go for a walk or go do something different and get out of that funk of where you are. And when you come back and have a break and you go, okay, yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah, what are the actual 2 things I need to do today?
Yeah. It's so true. If we can have that circuit breaker, because when we're stuck in it, it's way harder to have that perspective and see that for sure. Or have good people around you to tell you some truths. And so if you don't have those people around you, the 3 of us are here to tell you, to give you that hard truth now.
Exactly.
You're not as important as you think you might be. Jeni,
So
what about you?
put your hand in a bucket of water and take it out and see how long it takes to, that you were never there.
Yeah.
Kind of backing up a little bit on what Nick said and not trying to do everything yourself. Like we didn't do any marketing pretty much through the entirety of our business. Nick was always the salesperson. We had a couple of not very successful attempts at bringing in salespeople, but didn't have the infrastructure around them for them to work. When we decided that this needed to change, I know we met with you, we met with a couple of other people, but we knew that however many years into the business, would have been 15 years into our business, Nick, when we started working with you, Nicky, maybe longer. We had to do something different. And for us, that was bring somebody in who had the skills and could teach us how to do it differently, because we didn't know how to do it. But we knew that what we'd done that far it got us there, but wasn't going to get us to where we wanted to be. And, it's the old adage of, your number one tennis player doesn't do it on his own. He's got all the coaches for everything, he or she. And so I think, bringing expertise in to teach you how to do things differently or to help you through changing the way that you're doing things in the business. And it took us a long time to get there, probably too long.
So a really great point, around it's okay if you don't have all the answers. It's okay if you don't know. It's okay if you're not the expert. And basically, there's a common theme of what you both answered around. There's a humility around it, a humility to go, it's okay if I'm not as needed in my business as I think I am. And it's okay if I don't actually have all the answers. And let's be honest, there's a certain gusto that it takes to get your business to where it is, to get that 15 years in. So all of a sudden to be able to go, it's okay for me to step back and have these, sometimes it can feel vulnerable, right? Like that's a big thing, but we've had to be that person, or we've had to do all of the things to get to where we are. And to your point, Jeni, absolutely, what got us here will not be the thing that gets us to our next growth point, our growth set point. You mentioned about you had a couple of suboptimal experiences hiring salespeople, and you did mention briefly infrastructure was missing, so it was a very different experience to after the transformation. But let's talk about that for a quick moment around what do you think were the key distinguishing factors that made those experiences suboptimal versus when you actually nailed it and you got some really good people in the business?
I think one, and just completely wrong expectations that we're going to employ this person and they're going to completely transform the business. Like, it doesn't happen. Hire a BDM.
You're going to change our lives.
Somehow they're going to generate leads. They're going to turn those leads into dollars in the bank. And it didn't happen, surprisingly. We had no marketing. We had no leads coming in. So one person that comes to mind was with us maybe 12 or 18 months. Went through all of their contacts list basically from their previous role, which was in an aligned industry to ours. But then he didn't have anything else. So we parted ways and it was very amicable, but it didn't become a long-term successful outcome, I guess. And just hiring somebody and really not having those processes, that structure, even down to what am I selling? Oh, I don't know, the stuff that we do. Okay, well, that's not very helpful. Could you be a little bit more specific? How much does it cost? Well, I don't know. Just,
Depends how much they want to
figure it
pay.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just this whole, throw mud at a wall and hope some sticks, I think in hindsight was pretty much where we're at. And so not setting up a system and a process for people to actually succeed, I think is where we really went wrong. And we hired good people, but we just didn't have the business in a place where it was right.
Yeah, so like the foundational elements to help set them up
Just
for
not there.
success, and then
Yeah.
Nick, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, you have to be very, very clear with people you bring into the sales team as to what their role is, and they need to be mature enough to ask the questions of the infrastructure and resources that the business has. Right, it's all well and good for two, senior people to go up and have a coffee and say, "Oh yeah, I like you. Yeah, I know this guy and I know that guy, and we've got mutual clients, and yeah, this could really work," which is exactly what happened. But he didn't ask the question about, well, what's the playbook? What's the product suite? I said, "Oh, you just know people in the industry that we want to target. Let's just do that." And that was the big challenge, because and some BDMs are happy to do their own appointment setting, and they're kind of this multi-unicorn account manager, BDM / business development rep, all in one. And that's typically what an owner-led salesperson is, because you have to be. There is no other option. You have the passion for your business, that you know what you can do. You can think on your feet. You have the authority to talk to clients, but getting that in somebody else, it just doesn't happen. You have to have the structure and infrastructure around them to, even like Jeni said, simple things like, what's your service agreement contract? We don't have any.
Yeah.
We sign the client's contract, because most of our clients were government. So they give us a contract. We don't have one to give a client. Oh, okay. Well, how do I sell it then? Well, I don't know. Just get the meeting. I'll sell it. It's no problem.
Just hand it back over to me and I'll close that deal,
Yeah,
because I don't want to let go of it anyway.
And that's pretty much what happened. And that's
Yeah.
not success. That's not
No.
that's not how to do it.
You
Don't do
also
it
bring
that
up-
way.
Don't do it that way. You
No.
also brought up a great point. Rarely are the people in your business, not always, but rarely are they as passionate or driven as you are as the business owner. You started this business for a reason. So we've got to find, well, what are the other reasons that they might be, as driven, determined, and, what is their purpose in the business, which might be different to your perspective. So, even as simple as making sure that your team are aligned in that way. Are they aligned and engaged in the purpose? And realistic expectations, because they're probably not going to be as invested in it as you are. And that's okay. But what are they invested in? And what is that internal driver for each of them, which is for sure something that we really focused on with the salespeople, the leaders around, well, what is their, like, for example, it's never about commission. Like, a lot of salespeople are driven by money, but it's not about the money. It's about what is that money actually going to give them. So instead of you're driving towards this commission, but okay, what are you going to do with your commission? Is it a trip? Great, let's get a picture of Italy up that you can look at, like talking about visuals. It's to put on a house deposit, security for my family. Like, that reason will be unique. And we've got to balance that bigger picture purpose of the business with that internal driver. So even that's another simple thing that people can think about. Are you doing that in your business with your team?
It's an interesting point, because our younger son, Sam, is working for in sales in a company in London in kind of our industry, and started a new job a while back, and he got a sign-on bonus, which I didn't even know that was a thing. But he said, well, that's paid for our trip to skiing in Austria.
Yes.
So for him, it's all about travel and what they can do with it. So yeah, that's, just goes to show that point, that it's not the money, it's what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And as a good sales leader, you want to know, like, what is that driver?
Yep.
Because then the conversations you have are more compelling for them. You're not talking about your, X percent to target. You're talking about your X percent to that trip to ski in Austria. Like, all of a sudden, I'm going to be a bit more motivated. It's like the visuals. My motivation is, this isn't the month that we're not going to hit that visual and it's all colored in, like that's, I love
I
that.
don't want to be that guy.
I'm not going to be that guy. Yeah. So these days, you both spend a lot of your time in your current business, helping other business owners. Tell me if this is accurate. Getting unstuck, building their business by design, really learning some of the lessons that you learned over the last 25 years. What do you think are the things that business owners are still too afraid to do?
Go.
Let go.
It's simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just having that innate trust that you trust yourself, that you've employed good people, and then put them in a role, give them the support, and then let go and let them do it. Like one of the guests we had on this morning, he was talking about this and he was spot on. Like, you've got to create an environment. And are they going to do it as good as you? No. Are they going to make mistakes? 100% yes. He said, but as long as they don't send the business bankrupt, it's part of the learning process to get a better outcome. And I 100% agree. That is the number one thing. Lots of people there are still too scared, too afraid to let go. And people pick up on that really quickly. Like like you're a trust giver or a trust earner. Is that the right word? So like Jeni and I have always been, we back ourselves, right? We talk to you, like we trusted our whole sales team to you, Nicky. 100% trust on day one. You didn't have to prove yourself to us. You didn't have to check in every day and, I've achieved this milestone today. And whereas other people with the complete opposite. I think you'll be okay, but you got 3 months to prove yourself to me. And they use those words. And I mean, straight away to me, that's a failed relationship, And you can lose trust by doing the wrong thing multiple times or lying or just doing something completely irresponsible. But you've got to start from a place of trust. And trust is built by trusting people to do something, which means you have to let go of some things and just let go of something that's not going to send the whole company broke. But if they lose 10 grand on a deal, well, it's a lesson learned,
Yeah.
Not the end of the world.
And the return on effort or the return on investment from that learning, if you choose to look at this as a learning opportunity, that person will they're not going to want to lose that 10K again. They're going to learn from that.
They're never going to make that mistake
They're
again.
never going to make that mistake. So look at it as an investment of learning for future returns.
100%.
So good. Okay, so I feel like there's a little mini action there, which is the broader, let go. So great. And what I feel a good action from there before we get to Jeni is find one thing that you can just let go a little bit today in the next 24 hours, something that makes you a little bit butt clench or a little bit, but it's not high risk. Practice letting go, delegate that thing, whatever it might be. That's, I think, a brilliant, simple action to get started with that behavior. And Jeni, what do you find that business owners are still too afraid to do? And then we'll turn that into a little action too.
Having difficult conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I tried early on in my leadership style of sending ESP messages to people when I wanted them to know something that I wanted them to do differently, and it didn't go well. Not sure why. But actually learning to have those conversations, set really clear expectations and follow up on those discussions. You can do it in a way that's not confrontational. It's a learning experience often for both of you. I had to learn some strategies early on, sitting quietly beforehand, sort of bracing myself for the conversation and really focusing on what I wanted to say and how I wanted to feel after having that conversation. And just making it really, really clear. So, giving praise where it's due, giving feedback where it's due, having those, do you like your job type of conversations. But I think that's something that it's hard. And a lot of people find it really, really intimidating. And I even had staff say to me, I want feedback. I want you to tell me how to do things better. And I still struggle to do it even when they were asking for it. So as a leader, if you can learn how to do that well, I think that's a really important thing, a really important skill to learn.
Yeah. Agree. And I actually recorded a podcast episode on this recently. So I shall
Well,
pop the
there you
link in. It was
go.
all about how to have tough conversations because it is such a fundamental, really critical success factor to creating that autonomous team. And, we don't want to go either way too hardcore in terms of like overpraise or no tough conversations. We've got to really find that balance of acknowledging what people are doing and celebrate success and having some of those awkward conversations to make sure that everybody's clear on those standards. So Jeni, what's a little action that people can take alongside one thing that they can let go of, a simple thing they can just let go of a little bit in the next 24 hours? Is there an action around tough conversations we can leave them with?
I think have a conversation with somebody that you've needed to.
Yeah.
And even if you just do make it small, start small and build up from there, but just have a conversation with somebody that in your life that needs to happen.
And you who are watching, who are listening, will know if there is a conversation that you've been avoiding because there's going to be like this little feeling
Well, I think she's
that
talking to
came
me.
up when we started talking about it's like, you can't hide any longer. We are
Yep.
here to be that person in your life,
And we
to
see
give
you.
you the tough conversation. We see you. And if you're not sure where to start, then the action can be listen to that podcast episode. Guys, it has been amazing. I always love connecting with you. I love that we have stayed in contact for all these years. I love seeing your journey and all the amazing things that you're doing with other businesses. And tell me, where can people friendly stalk you?
We're both on LinkedIn. It's probably the best part. So
Right.
Jeni Clift, Jeni. My mother unfortunately couldn't spell when she named me.
I love that. I love Jeni. I'll pop the links in as well, so you can just go click
Cool.
there. Yep.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And our podcast is mspmastery.blog. And tenacia.com is our main website. We've got all our details and bits and pieces. So thanks, Nicky. It's been a great conversation again. And I look forward to looking up some of your episodes as well.
Yes, I love that so much. I'll pop all the links in the show notes. There's so much gold that's been shared from tried and tested methodologies, frameworks, all the things. Nick and Jeni are the real deal. As always, if there's anything that's come up that you want to share with us, please reach out to us. All the links are below. And I'll see you next episode. See you later, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks,
Thank
Nicky.
you.